Okay, parents, let's talk about something that I know can be incredibly frustrating. Have you ever had this happen? Your child's absolute favorite food, the one thing you can always count on them eating, suddenly becomes their worst enemy. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to dive into this common and really stressful experience called food jagging.
So, what's the plan? Well, first, we're going to put a name to this problem and figure out what in the world food jagging actually is. Then we'll explore why it happens from your child's perspective. After that, it's all about action. We'll cover how to stop a jag before it even starts, what to do if you're already in one, and maybe, most importantly, how to bring some peace back to your dinner table. And finally, we'll talk about the path forward.
All right, first up, what is food jagging? It's time to move past that feeling of frustration and get to a place where we can really understand what's going on. I mean, does this hit close to home or what? One minute, chicken nuggets are the only thing they'll eat for 2 weeks straight. The next, you think you just served them a plate of actual poison. This right here, this is the classic food jag scenario, and trust me, you are so not alone in this.
So, this whole thing actually has a name. It's a pattern called food jagging. Here's the deal. A child gets stuck on one or maybe a tiny handful of foods, eats them over and over, and then bam, they just burn out. They refuse it completely. And the scary part for parents is that with every food that gets dropped, that list of what they'll actually eat gets shorter and shorter, and the stress gets bigger and bigger.
And, these jags can look a lot of different ways, and they're often the first clue one is developing. It could be the peanut butter sandwich for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or maybe it's the mac and cheese, but it has to be the one in the blue box, no exceptions. It could be only one kind of cracker, or maybe they'll eat bananas, but literally no other fruit. If you're nodding your head right now, you are probably dealing with a food jag.
Now, I really want you to hear this. If you take away just one thing today, let it be this. This is not your child being stubborn. It is not a power play. As a pediatric occupational therapist, I see this all the time. It is a classic pattern for kids with sensory processing differences or autism. They are not choosing to make your life harder. This is a reaction to what's going on inside their own body.
So if it's not them being stubborn, then what is it? Let's dig into that. We're going to try and understand what this feels like from the inside, from your child's point of view. This really gets to the heart of the disconnect. For us, on the outside, it feels like a battle of wills, right? A power struggle. But for them, from the inside, it's a completely different story. Sticking to that one food, that's their life raft. It's a coping mechanism. It's their way of managing feeling overwhelmed and anxious by holding on to the one thing that feels predictable and safe. You see, there are a bunch of factors that can be at play here. Sensory processing is a huge one. A child might be extremely sensitive to a certain taste or texture. Predictability is also key. Familiar foods feel safe, and that lowers anxiety. And for toddlers, it's actually normal to be afraid of new foods. But here's something wild. Eating isn't just about taste and smell. It involves all 8 of our senses. Yeah, 8. For a kid with sensory differences, that can feel like a total sensory storm. Some kids also struggle with what we call interoception. That's the body's signal for I'm hungry or I'm full. If that signal is fuzzy, eating is really confusing. And of course, it's always important to rule out any medical issues, like tummy pain that could be making eating uncomfortable. Okay, so now that we get the why, let's get proactive. How can we prevent a food jag from even starting? It really all comes down to building in variety from the very beginning. I'm going to give you a super simple tool that is a total game changer. It's the 2-day rule. It's this simple. You serve a food your child loves. Great. Step 2. You wait at least 1 full day, so 2 nights sleep, before offering that exact same food again. That little bit of space is the key to preventing that sensory burnout. Now, to make that rotation idea actually work without losing your mind, here's a little hack. Sit down and write out a master list of every single food your kid currently eats. And I know that list might feel really short right now, and that's okay. But seeing it on paper makes it so much easier to plan and rotate so you're not in a panic at mealtime. Okay, that's great for prevention, but what if you're thinking it's too late? We are deep in a food jag right now. Don't worry, let's talk about some gentle, gradual ways to start expanding their diet. This is one of my favorite strategies, and it's called food chaining. The whole idea is to start with what's already accepted and then build on it. So let's say they love plain pasta. The next step isn't to dump a whole new food on their plate. No way. The next step is to change one tiny thing. I'm talking like a single drop of melted butter, so small it's barely noticeable. Once that's okay, you gradually build from there.
maybe moving to a super mild sauce. It's all about making changes so small they don't trigger that automatic nope. And when I say the changes can be tiny, I really mean it. It could be as simple as cutting a sandwich with a fun cookie cutter, or buying a different but very similar brand of their favorite cracker. You could try serving yogurt on a plate instead of in the container, adding literally one sprinkle to their oatmeal, or even serving a favorite food at a slightly different temperature. All these little tweaks slowly build flexibility. Oh, and here is a huge tip. Whenever you can, serve food out of its original packaging. This is how you avoid that brand fixation, where a child will only eat the yogurt in the green container. Taking it out of the box and putting it on a plate breaks that visual connection and gives you so much more freedom. Now, all of these food strategies are great, but they work best when the environment is right. So let's talk about the most important piece of this puzzle, taking the pressure off and creating calm mealtimes. This one trick can end so many mealtime battles. Think of the plate in two parts. First, you have a safe food. This is something you know 100% that they will eat. This is crucial because it tells their brain, it's okay, you won't go hungry. Then, right alongside it, you place a learning food, and I mean a tiny, non-threatening piece, like a single pea or one sliver of a carrot. The goal is not for them to eat it. The goal is just no pressure exposure. So to keep that pressure-free vibe going, here are some ground rules. Number 1, and this is non-negotiable, never pressure, bribe, or negotiate for just one more bite. It will always backfire. Instead, shift the focus to family time and connection. Encourage them to just explore the food. Maybe they'll touch it or smell it. That's a huge win. Getting them to help you in the kitchen can also give them a sense of control. And above all, just keep the conversation light and positive.
All right, we're almost there. Let's wrap this up by talking about the path forward. This is all about managing our expectations and knowing when it's time to call for backup.
This is a question I know is on a lot of your minds, and it's a really important one. How do you know when it's time to call in a professional? Here are some clear signs it might be time to get help. If your child's diet is super limited, like fewer than 20 foods, if you notice they're constantly dropping foods they used to eat, if mealtimes are causing extreme distress for your child or for your whole family, or of course, if you have any concerns at all about their nutrition or growth. The people you want to look for are a pediatric occupational therapist, a feeding specialist, or a dietitian. They live and breathe this stuff. And as you start down this path, please remember this. Progress is almost always gradual. This is not an overnight fix. It is so important to manage your own expectations and to celebrate every single tiny win. Whether that's just touching a new food or simply tolerating it on their plate for a minute, that is a huge victory. Because at the end of the day, all the strategies and all the tricks are helpful, but the most important ingredient you bring to the table is your patience. Understanding the why behind the behavior and approaching this with empathy and persistence, that will make all the difference in the world. You've got this.